Okay, so we all felt that disappointment, right? That collective sigh when the news dropped about Grand Theft Auto 6.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
We're talking about the latest delay.
Yeah.
And look, this isn't just any video game news. You could argue this is like the single most anticipated thing maybe this decade.
It's huge. The expectation globally, the money involved, the cultural weight, it's just enormous.
Truly immense, yeah. And when you're dealing with something that big, every little decision, especially about timing, gets put under a microscope.
Absolutely. Not just by fans, but, shareholders. The whole industry is watching Rockstar.
Exactly. So for this deep dive, we're not just going to look at the new date. Our mission, let's call it, is to really unpack the calculus of the GTA 6 delay.
The calculus, I like that.
Yeah, we've looked at the official lines, the journalism digging deeper, the rumors, trying to get a handle on both sides of it. The strategic thinking versus the messy internal stuff.
The practical challenges, yeah. It's always a mix.
So let's put everyone on the same page with the timeline first. What's the current official target we're looking at now, according to the sources anyway?
Okay, so the date everyone's circling now, based on what we've seen, is November 19th, 2026.
November 19, 2026. Right, let's start there. The official statement from Rockstar, it's very carefully worded, as you'd expect. What is the official reason they gave?
Well, the official line focuses squarely on quality. They basically said it's for additional development time to allow us to finish the game with the level of polish you have come to expect.
Right. The standard, it needs more polish line. We hear that a lot with delayed.
Pretty standard, yeah. It's all about managing expectations.
But digging into the sources, the brand, the money. The interesting part is why that need for extreme polish is such a non-negotiable strategic thing for this specific game.
Well, it boils down to a few massive things, really. Scope is the first one. GTA games are just defined by their insane ambition, right? The sources keep highlighting this. We're not just talking a big map. It's the AI, the physics, the graphics, the online stuff, all incredibly complex and interconnected.
So adding more cool features isn't just adding work. It's adding complexity.
Exactly. It's exponential. More features, especially ones that interact, means way more places for bugs to hide. You're not just debugging feature A and feature B.
You're debugging A and B talking to each other.
Precisely. And reports suggest the level they're aiming for with GTA 6, the sheer fidelity. Well, it just needed a much longer bug-fixing phase than they maybe first thought.
Which links straight into their brand, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Rockstar has spent decades building this reputation for, really polished launches.
Yes. That reputation is gold. It's why they can command this level of hype in the first place. So delaying, even multiple times, is actually vital to protect that.
Better to delay than release something broken.
Absolutely. We all saw what happened with Cyberpunk 2077, right? The damage a buggy big launch can do is massive and long-lasting. For Rockstar, releasing a broken GTA 6, that would hurt them way more long-term than taking the heat for another delay.
The stakes are just astronomical. The sources really hammer this home. GTA 6 isn't just another game. It's like an event that could define consoles for years.
Totally. And that leads to the last strategic bit. They have to be conservative with scheduling. They know every eye is on them.
The spotlight is intense.
Blindingly bright, yeah. Because it's arguably the biggest franchise out there. Any big bug, any performance hitch at launch, it gets blown up globally. It damages that reputation. So they'd rather push it back until they feel absolutely 100% confident.
So the official line delaying for polish, it's true. But it's the sheer cost of their own ambition that's forcing that level of polish, and therefore the delay.
It's the price you pay for setting the absolute highest bar in the industry, yeah.
Okay, so that's the external view, the strategic thinking. But let's turn inward now. Because this is where it gets really messy, according to the reports.
Right.
The official statement is all about the game, the product. But the journalism, the leaks, they paint a picture of some significant internal friction, real practical logistical stuff.
Yeah, this is where the internal reality kind of crashes against those strategic goals. The sources point to some pretty serious issues with, like, the development environment itself, stability problems. We're not talking minor hiccups.
Operational upheaval, you called it.
Pretty much.
What about the reports on staff changes?
Yeah.
Because losing people, especially late in the game, That has to slow things down.
Yeah, there are confirmed reports about layoffs, even firings in their UK and Canadian studios. And look, when you're in that final push, that crunch phase,
The all hands on deck.
exactly, losing experienced people right then, that throws a major wrench in the works. You lose their specific knowledge, obviously, but then the remaining team has to pick up the slack, leads to handover issues, delays bug fixing. It cascades.
And that must hit morale too, right? Laying people off just before the finish line. What do the sources say about, the human side of it?
Oh, definitely. The reports connect these changes directly to low morale. There were even apparently protests about the terminations.
Yeah.
Think about it, making these huge, complex games needs intense focus, collaboration, creativity, long hours often. If your team's worried about their jobs or actively unhappy with conditions,
Productivity just tanks.
right, workflow efficiency suffers, creative problem solving slows down. And those critical tasks like finding and fixing really tricky bugs, that needs absolute precision. It all gets less reliable.
So it's almost like a vicious cycle. The push for polish creates internal stress that actually makes achieving polish harder and slower.
That's a good way to put it. The internal friction starts actively working against the strategic goal. But maybe the most telling detail from the sources was about that big logistical shift late in the game.
The mandatory return to the office mandate. I remember reading about that.
That's the one. Sources detailed this major decision where Rockstar basically told employees in its UK studios, no more remote work, full-time, back in the office, now. And this was deep into the final stages already.
That sounds disruptive to make such a big, probably unpopular change right then. Why? What was the thinking there, according to the sources?
Yeah.
It suggests remote work wasn't cutting it.
That seems to be the inference, yeah. The official why wasn't stalled out, but the analysis and the reporting points to maybe two big things they were trying to fix. Code synchronization and security.
Oh,
Managing thousands of people contributing code remotely on a project this complex, it can get fragmented, harder to integrate everything smoothly. And security, well, with something as valuable and secret as GTA 6.
Having people working from home everywhere increases the risk of leaks, yeah. Makes sense.
So management might have seen things getting maybe a bit chaotic and decided, okay, we need everyone back here, physical proximity for control, for cohesion, to lock down the IP.
But forcing everyone back like that, disrupting routines built over years, especially during crunch, that has its own immediate cost, right? Productivity must have taken a hit, at least initially.
Oh, for sure. It's a huge gamble. You disrupt workflows, communication patterns. People have to readjust. It might buy you better control or security long term, but it pretty much guarantees an immediate slowdown. And that slowdown translates directly into loss. Weeks, maybe months, delay.
So that internal picture, the staffing issues, the morale problems, the forced return to office, it really shows a company kind of fighting fires internally while trying to deliver this perfect product externally.
It definitely reveals the messy reality behind the polished press release, doesn't it?
Yeah. Now, let's put this latest delay, the November 2026 date, into context, because the reporting confirms this isn't the first time the goalposts have moved, is it? It's part of pattern.
That's crucial context, yeah. It really shows there have been ongoing struggles with managing the sheer scope of this thing. If you trace the timeline back based on the sources, the earliest internal target for GTA 6 was apparently late 2025.
Which, honestly, always felt incredibly ambitious, even before we knew quite how big it was aiming to be.
Right, so that late 2025 target didn't hold. It got pushed first to sometime in May 2026. That was the next anticipated window.
Okay.
And now, here we are with the current official schedule, November 19th, 2026. So we're looking at a continuous slippage of over a year from that initial internal hope.
What that pattern suggests, then, is that the initial plans, maybe they were too optimistic, or maybe they just underestimated the complexity from the get-go.
Yeah.
But whatever the reason, they were just repeatedly off the mark.
Seems that way. Each delay is like the company slowly, maybe painfully, admitting that the ambition and the internal reality were just out of sync right from the start.
Each delay is basically acknowledging that gap, the time needed for that extreme polish, plus the extra time lost dealing with all that internal friction we talked about.
That's a really good summary of it.
Okay, so let's try and tie this all together then. We've got the strategic need for polish, the brand protection, the high stakes, and then we have the internal chaos, the staffing, morale, logistics. What's the bottom line here? What's the real calculus behind this latest delay, according to the sources we've analyzed?
Well, the synthesis, the bottom line, really seems to be that the delay is this inevitable result of those two big forces colliding. It is strategic, absolutely.
Right.
Rockstar has to protect its brand, its reputation. They need that high-polished, high-quality launch. Failure just isn't an option for them on this scale.
But it's also practical, right?
Exactly. It's practical because as they got deeper into development, especially those final stages, they hit the wall of messy human reality. Staff changes, morale issues, that huge logistical headache of forcing everyone back to the office to try and stabilize things.
So the sources show this picture of a company basically chasing perfection, but also battling internal problems at the same time.
Yeah. And the game is so massive, so complex, that any one of those internal hiccups are a key person leaving, unhappy developers, a big change like the office mandate, it gets magnified. It turns into months on the schedule.
So the delay isn't just about needing more time to polish code. It's the cost of managing that tension between the huge ambition and the practical, sometimes messy realities of getting it done.
It's the cost of perfection, perhaps, or at least the cost of trying to achieve it while dealing with real-world organizational friction.
It's a really sobering look at what goes into making these kinds of blockbusters. It's not just code, it's psychology, logistics, crisis management.
It's the price of being right at the very top, yeah.
Which kind of leads to a final thought, maybe something for you, the listener, to chew on after hearing all this. The sources we looked at, they show this clear pattern, right? Massive ambition and the highest quality standards running headlong into this really intense, maybe unavoidable internal friction. The layoffs, the morale dips, the schedule constantly shifting as they try to stabilize.
Yeah, that pattern seems pretty consistent with these mega projects.
So the provocative thought is this. Given the sheer scale of something like GTA 6, is this period of, let's call it organizational chaos, aimed at getting control, is that just an unavoidable, maybe even expected and budgeted part of the process now for building these kinds of world-defining entertainment products?
Is the friction just part of the cost of doing business at that level? Interesting question.
Something to think about anyway. While we all wait for November 19th, 2026,